You are listening to the Real Estate Growth Hackers Show.
Welcome to the Real Estate Growth Hackers Show. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to leverage live chat in order to maximize lead generation and lead response. I've got Randy Carroll here with me from Chime. I'm excited to have you here, Randy. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Go ahead and introduce yourself and maybe give people a bit of an idea of how you come to be with us today.
Yeah, Zach, no, I appreciate the opportunity. So a quick rundown of my background and then of Chime's background. I've come to realize that real estate and technology specifically is actually something that is genetically encoded in my family. My grandfather, father, brother, fiance have all involved in actual real estate. My father was also working for big tech companies. My mom sold loan origination software. So real estate has very much been a part of my family, as well as technology. So it's only appropriate that I work for a real estate technology company.
There you go. Nice.
Chime has a really interesting background as well. As a matter of fact, we are, I should say, the only IDX CRM company that started as a mobile app exclusively, right? So in the beginning days, we realized agents spend more time on their phones and laptops or desktops. And so having a feature-rich CRM they can use on the go is super important. So we started there and we built out our desktop experience thereafter. So what you get as a result is a really, really powerful mobile app that doesn't compromise on the desktop either. So.
And that's so important. Like, we talked about this on our preliminary call to sort of tee up this episode, just how powerful it is to start with that mobile first design, because man, it's a lot harder to take this really fleshed out desktop experience and try and cram it into a mobile environment where like it's usually just not done well. And either they have to leave off features or they have to, I don't know. It doesn't usually go well to go from desktop to mobile without a whole lot of thought and extra effort. But when you go from mobile first, man, you could take a really great mobile experience and it's pretty easy to just give it a little bit more room to breathe and give it a good desktop experience and whatnot. So yeah, that's cool to hear. I think more and more we're going to see the smart companies doing that as well, where they're starting with that mobile first development. So it's cool that you guys are kind of ahead of the pack on that and already started there.
Yeah, from a technology company perspective, we really value the forward-looking perspective that we had with our technology. We're probably not the youngest company in the space, but certainly one of the younger companies in the space. Right. And as a result, we've been able to innovate and iterate on our technology really, really quickly, always updating, always improving. We roll out updates to our software once a month, sometimes twice a month, just given the schedule, but at least once a month. And as a result, we've been able to create some really powerful tech that we're actually going to be talking about today. So I'm really excited for that.
Awesome. So yeah, let's dive in and let's talk about, what are some of the key areas where Chime is a bit unique in the market, right? Because I know really one of the things that I'd describe it as, and I'd love you to dive into this, is that Chime is really good at coming alongside the real estate agent and making a lot of the tasks and the work of follow-up just drastically easier and more likely to happen, right? So I know Chime does more than that, but I feel like that's a big part of what you guys are up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me kind of set the stage for where in the industry we fit, and then what kind of our principle, our North Star that guides us in the direction that separates us from the competitors, right?
Right.
So within the industry, we're an IDX CRM solution, more commonly referred to as those all-in-ones, right? So the three components people often think of an all-in-one solution is lead generation, websites, and CRMs all under one house, under one roof, right? So yes, that is the category that we are in. We do offer lead generation services and we're pretty good at it, but our stance, our company's stance is that we're lead agnostic. We don't actually care where you get your leads from, and actually a surprising percentage of our clients don't actually participate in online lead generation.
Right.
And that just to begin with is going to separate us, because so many of the other quote unquote all-in-one solutions are very quick to sell you lead generation, because that they believe
Right.
that is where their value proposition comes from,
Right.
which is a slippery slope and really easy to fall prey to. But the
Right.
problem is, there isn't a successful realtor out there whose business exclusively comes from online leads. And when your value proposition is online leads, you build your technology around it. Our
Right.
value prop so our value proposition is that we're going to help you convert leads regardless of where they come from, online, offline, where, the metaverse, wherever you get them, right? So
Right.
from outer space, we don't care. We're going to help you convert more leads than if you were to use another piece of software as your CRM. So that is
Right.
the
And
that
that
is
that is so key, right? Because if it's, hey, lead generation is lead generation. People need it to, to whatever degree, and need to have sources for leads. But you're right. That slippery slope concept of, if really the primary focus is just the lead generation and essentially like the ad agency side of these all-in-one platforms, you run the risk of not putting together a great feature set on the back end, right? Of not having the tools that really help to make that work. You have a fancy ad agency instead of actually having great software that really helps people convert those leads. So it's cool that really, this is how I always like to look at this sort of service, where it's like you're focused on the product itself, but you almost offer the ad stuff, maybe not exactly as an afterthought, but more as we know people need help with this, so we want to give them an easy option to do it. But really, there's lots of ways to get leads. We're more focused on the back end process, and that's where we can really help that other people can't, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just with our own direct integrations, we have nearly 100 different lead sources. And then when you add in other services like Zapier to plug leads in, you're
Right.
talking about an unlimited number of lead sources. So it's really foolish to believe that your one lead source is going to be satisfactory for an actual high producing, growth oriented real estate team, brokerage, or individual. So
Right.
we're hyper aware of that and realize that we need to help our clients convert leads from in any shape, form, or fashion, right? If
Right.
you only like to do mailers and you're super big into to farming, well, whether you have a farming service already or you want to use the one built into Chime, that's fine. You can do
Right.
that, and the leads will come into our CRM and so on and so forth. So we really
Perfect.
play nicely in the sandbox, is the way I like to put it.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That's good to hear. I think more and more similar. We talked about how that mobile first development makes a big difference on the quality of the product and how you're using it from your phone. But yeah, that sort of belief and mindset also really impacts how a company works. So I think the more that companies these days try to hold on to all the elements and really keep it in a tight closed sandbox, so to speak, the easier it is for them to fall behind, because it's hard. Facebook's changing all the time. What's working in the ad space is changing all the time, and trying to be the best at all those things is going to be hard, right? You could generally do good enough with some of it, so you could say, hey, we're here, we can help you, we have a good strategy. But yeah, maybe there's somebody who's they've honed in their ad strategy and they're always going to beat us because that's all they do and that's what they focus on, right? We still want to be able to help you and have a space in this world, so it makes sense to be a little bit more modular in how we think about how these interactions go. So yeah, that makes sense. I love that. So in that vein, I know one of the things that you guys have discovered, and that that's what brings us to our topic today of live chat and how to use it to maximize lead generation and lead response in your guys' process of really focusing on conversion and focusing on that end result. One of the things that's come along from that is this a really cool AI powered chatbot that you guys have created that exists on your websites. That's part of how follow-up happens, part of how communication happens when people interact with leads. Can you tell me a little bit about about what that is, a little bit about how it works? We'll get into a little bit more of the details later, I think, but just that people have some context and maybe why is this such a powerful tool, right?
Yeah, no, totally fair. And so to really understand how what we've built is different than what has been on the marketplace, you have to understand the guts of it,
Right.
because on the surface, the consumer experience isn't really all that different, right? We have
Right.
website communication, text message, Facebook Messenger is in beta, and then we'll be working on email communication, right? So we're not
Right.
revolutionizing the forms of communication per se, but
Right.
we have taken the brains of the operation to a whole new level. So
Right.
to expand on that, we're the only company in the entire real estate industry who's actually using Google's machine learning algorithm. And quite frankly, a lot of agents in this industry are just now learning what artificial intelligence is. So to throw the word machine learning out there is pretty scary, because it's the next level of artificial intelligence. So let me just
Right.
give you a quick example of what it means to run on machine learning. Other bots in the industry, other AI chatbots, run off of keyword-based messaging or scripting, so on and so forth. So if you were to take that archaic form of chatbots in the industry and
Right.
turn it magically into a 2-year-old, right? This 2-year-old would walk up to a stove, the stove would be turned on, the 2-year-old would reach out, touch it, get burned, right? This
Right.
is bad.
Right.
2 weeks later, after the burn is healed and the 2-year-old has forgotten about it, they'll walk up to that very same stove that's still hot and touch it again and get burned again. And
Right.
and nobody likes that, right? That's not
Right.
good. That's not good. And maybe some of you all can relate to that more than others. But
Right.
that is what the industry has become accustomed to. Chatbots
Right.
that do the same dumb thing over and over again.
Right.
But machine learning is that 2-year-old toddler gets burned the first time and learns that was not good. What I said wasn't good. What I touched wasn't good, right? That hurts me. So 2 weeks later, when that 2-year-old walks up to the stove and sees that it's turned on again, they do something different, like maybe turn it off.
Right.
But ultimately, they don't get burned a second time. And machine learning is that technological ability for computers to get better over time, right? So
Right.
Skynet, right, for all you Terminator fans, right? Very much
Right.
machine learning is a part of that fictional process. So with
Yeah.
that being
Yeah. So, it's really interesting the way that it works. I mean, essentially, at a basic level, what machine learning does is it's the concept of giving giving the tool, giving the code a series of data inputs, and you're saying we want this kind of result, we want this thing to happen, and then it starts to be able to figure out, okay, here's the mixture of these ingredients, these words, this way, this timing, all of these different things. And then when I use them in this way, I get to the end result or I don't. If I don't get to the end result, then I go back and I readjust and I try and make my process better. So I'm much more likely to get to that desired end result. And it literally could go back and keep changing itself and adjusting its own process, that it gets better and better and better at getting that end result. And so what's cool by you guys using Google's algorithm on this, it's not relying exclusively on what you guys are able to train it on. It's also able to kind of leverage the vast world that Google is involved in to do some of the legwork as well, right? So some of the basic language processing and some of that. So you guys are going to be able to help train it more in this real estate specific vein with these real estate specific goals. But it's already going to have a lot of power behind it, just because
by the nature of it being Google's, right? So you've got arguably the best technology company in the world, whether or not you like them, powering this AI assistant that has been injected with millions of conversations, right? So before we even released it to production, we ran it through over 1 million conversations, and now it's been in production for over 2 years. So you're talking about 2+ years of improvement, and the results are really staggering. We're really excited about this, and this comes at a very crucial time in the industry. And I say that because lead generation has gotten out of hand. The number, I mean, truly, the number of leads generated every year is increasing exponentially. Zillow only makes money by selling leads. Well, not only, but largely makes money from selling leads. Realtor.com, Google makes money from selling leads. Facebook makes money from selling leads. And these are all companies that are hyper focused on making more money than they made the year prior, right? So they're not going to slow down their lead generation. But that being said, the number of homes sold each year is relatively, I shouldn't say stagnant because it does grow, but at a very slow percentage. In fact, there's already predictions.
It's basically based on like population trends and like what different age groups are looking to do at that time in their life, right? Mm-hmm. It's not so much more lead generation creates more home ownership. It's very much momentum mm-hmm. and trends that really, it takes decades to change, even if you could.
No, you're exactly right. And there's even some predictions expecting fewer homes to be sold in 2022 than 2021. But I'll bet you the lead generation doesn't slow down. So you're talking about an ever-growing haystack with generally the same-ish number of needles inside. So how do you find a needle that has grown from your 2-year-old swimmy blow-up inflatable pool to the size of an Olympic pool, right? And having some artificial intelligence powered by Google's machine learning in your business to help weed out those tire kickers can be really, really helpful in prioritizing your time, because at the end of the day, you have the same number of hours, regardless. You just have to find ways to be more efficient with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great way for us to segue into kind of the more tactical elements of this talk, right? So we've given people some really great groundwork of context, of understanding really what you guys have done and what you've solved in terms of having AI powered chatbot using machine learning to make sure that it's getting better the more it's used, rather than just continually smashing its head against the wall and hoping for a different result.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So let's talk a little bit about this. So one of our goals on this show is to always make sure that people, when they can walk away from an episode and have something that they can take, they can use, they can put into action, regardless of what they decide to do. Now, obviously, Chime has an awesome product, an awesome service that I think people should definitely check out. But if somebody wants to learn from what you guys have done and be able to put that into action in their business, regardless, there's some great information we can glean just from how you guys have live chat set up using AI, that even if somebody just wanted to run it as a human, they could get some of the same benefits from what you guys have learned, right? So that's what we're going to dive into. That's what we're going to talk about. So first off, I want to give people a little bit of context, and I'll have you chime in on this as well. Chime in, yeah, yep. pun intended.
Happens every time. It's unavoidable. It truly is.
It's one of those, like, I didn't even intend to do it, but because we've said chime so many times, it's the first word that pops into your head. Anyway, so why is live chat so powerful? Just that, regardless of AI or not, why is live chat as a tool on your website in order to generate leads, why is that so powerful? And real quick, just in case people aren't familiar with it, remind them what live chat is in case they don't know what that means.
Sure, yeah. So you go to a website and a little box pops up in the bottom right-hand corner generally and says, hey, how can I help you? What are you looking for? Things of that nature. And the reason why this is so powerful really comes down to the human psyche and the trends in culture today. People are at an all-time high for wanting immediate gratification. Right. Gone are the days of the teacher telling you to go figure out the answer yourself. Right. I remember so many times in school going up and asking for the answer from the teacher, and they said, no, go sit down and figure it out. That's not the case anymore. People want information and they want it now. Right. So having an outlet for that is really, really helpful, regardless of whether or not it's powered by AI or whether it's manpower behind it. And so it gives you immediate access, it gives the consumer immediate access to information, and it gives you immediate access to the consumer. So consider that fact. And then also just consider the fact that through this form of communication, it allows you a more personal opportunity to gather contact information rather than forcing somebody through a registration prompt, right? So
Right.
we all know there's a pretty high percentage of people who click out of websites once they're forced to register,
Right.
which is fine. That's just the cost of doing business. But having that chat function, chat, also including text for that matter, giving you an opportunity to capture more information about the visitor, their search needs, wants, desires, contact information, things of that nature.
Yeah, one of the things that I like to describe this as is like the power of micro commitments, right? So this is just it's a good principle in general, whether you're using landing pages or whether you're looking to leverage live chat. Micro commitments are essentially the idea of instead of asking somebody to do a lot of things at once, you just sort of focus on that one simple next step, and you keep getting them to say yes. So by the end of it, when you're asking for maybe information that they don't normally want to give, they're a little bit more likely to, because they're invested at this point. They've told you the other things. They have mentally shifted from being somebody who doesn't respond to you and doesn't answer your questions, or who maybe is skeptical of giving you that information. They've slowly shifted into being the kind of person that says, I'm apparently the kind of person that gives this person information. So by the time I ask for their email or their phone number, like they're actually more likely to give it to you and more likely have it be accurate. Right. And so a conversational flow where people, you kind of, you ask them a question like, hey, can I help you? And then they say, or we'll give you some ideas for the kinds of questions that could lean into this, where it's like a very specific question that's relevant to what they're looking at. They're a lot more likely to engage with you, and then they're a lot more likely to to give you good information, to give you that contact information. And further, this goes into, you guys have talked, you talked about the focus on conversion and not just lead generation. It also helps on that front, right? Because then when you're looking to do that long-term follow-up that really engage with them as a person, if the way that they come into your funnel is through a conversation, the connection in that follow-up, even if it's later, even if it's days later or whatnot, is drastically better than if they only fill out a form. A form feels very it feels very sterile, right? Like it's very transactional. They put in their information in exchange for whatever thing that you offered them, but they don't feel like they have a relationship with you. They feel like they engaged with your robot. But if they're chatting with you, or chatting even with a really good AI, right? Then there's actually a level of human connection that happens there, a bit of rapport that's built. And so they're a lot more likely to actually engage and follow up on the back end. I think if I recall, and I don't mean to put you on the spot because I don't have a friend of mine right here, but I think you had at least some stats about kind of the difference that some of these things make in terms of, both lead conversion rate. So how many leads you create through marketing efforts, and then also how much more likely they are to respond, open your messages, that kind of thing. Do you have that available?
I do, and I appreciate you asking. So, two things, right? The first is the capture rate, and that is the number of leads that have come to your website and actually fill out a form. We've already acknowledged the fact that many people will just bounce before, or they'll leave your website before giving you information. What this capture rate means is you're getting more leads for the same amount of money that you're already spending. So it's a beautiful thing. And our clients saw a 33% increase in capture rate.
Right.
So, you go, if you got, if you were getting, say, 10 leads out of 100 visitors, you're now getting 13 to 14 leads out of 100 visitors, which sounds like a small number once, but in this industry, things compound, and over the course of time, that number is going to make a significant difference.
And to be clear, just so that everybody understands this, right now we're talking about you are getting more leads from the same spend or the same effort. Whatever you're doing to generate your leads, you're just getting more of them without having to change anything else about what you're doing. So that's what we're saying when we talk about that 33% increase.
Yes, and I appreciate you pointing that out. And it really addresses this myth that permeates the industry that in order to close more deals, you need to buy more leads, and that's just objectively untrue. Right. You just need to improve your systems, and you can convert more leads with the same amount.
Right.
So So there's that piece, and then there's the response rate. And this is what I'm really excited about because it generates more conversations, right? More leads is one thing, but more conversations, that's something that you can grab a hold of and really turn into a significant increase in your income. So what our clients experienced after introducing our AI assistant was a 2 times their response rate doubled, right? So there was a 2x increase to new lead response rate. So imagine you had, of those 10 leads, you had 5 people responding, or let's say now you have 14 leads and you've got 10 people responding.
Right.
What
exactly?
So let me ask you this: what would it mean to your business? You know, this is super easy math to do. What would it mean to your business? Take your existing numbers now, write them all down. What if you 2x'd that? What would it do? I know, like I'm not dumb. My fiance is a realtor. I see this in real life. I know that every conversation doesn't result in a transaction.
Right.
However, if you can have twice as many conversations, that's twice as many appointments, twice as many deals. So you just take your own conversion funnel. If you talk to 10 people, how many are you converting into a piece of business? So
exactly.
These are all numbers that you can do for yourself.
Right.
You don't need anyone to tell you what they are. So I'm just really excited about the opportunity for our clients to engage with more consumers.
Yeah, and it's so powerful. So again, I mean, a 2x increase in conversion to conversation. So a 2x increase in conversation. That means effectively you could generate half as many leads or spend half as much on leads and still get exactly the same results if you wanted to. Or
that's a phenomenal way to put it.
Or if you keep spending the same money, you can expect 2 times the results, right? And so that's just to put that in perspective. Like, so what I love about this is that it gives you some wiggle room, right? Because we've talked about this. Ads change. Like I'll just throw out a quick example. People may or may not realize this, but Facebook ads are run on an auction, right? And every 4 years or so, we end up having a massive thing that happens in the US where a bunch of political money floods into the Facebook ad system and jacks the prices up for all the rest of us, right? We're here running our daily normal ads and expecting our normal pricing and conversion rates. And then we get like I don't know exactly what the spend is, a few $1 billion worth, maybe more of money that flushes into this ad system. And so all the prices go up, right? Because there's basic supply and demand. There's more demand for that ad inventory. So the cost goes up, right? Now, most people are just sort of at the whim of that happening, where if your costs go up that much and you're sort of running that razor thin edge, man, that could really hurt your business for a bit, right? Like that could be a big difference maker in terms of, are you able to generate enough leads at the cost that you're expecting? But if you have a tool like this, like live chat, like CHIME'S AI chatbot, able to really make every lead that's generated drastically more effective, man, you got yourself a little bit more wiggle room and a little bit more opportunity, and are able to weather those kinds of changes more effectively. So it's really useful to have those types of capabilities and get those types of improvements. And so, yeah, that's part of why I'd really encourage everybody listening, everybody watching, check out live chat, check out Chime and their AI bot, and make sure you're looking at the opportunity that's there. But regardless, let's talk about, say I am an agent. I want to, I'm bought in. I see the power of live chat. I see the power of using this on my site, but I don't know what to actually do. I don't know how to actually systematically use live chat in order to, get up and get going. So you and I have talked through a few concepts that we have ready for people, so that they can systematically start using live chat even on their own if they want to. And we have a few principles here. So the first one that we talked about was the idea of, first and foremost, you have to know, this goes back to our machine learning, right? We got to know that end result that we want to get, right? We have to know what we're looking to achieve through the conversation, what information we're looking to get in order to actually have a good conversation through live chat. So can you talk to me a little bit about that and some of the tools that people can use, in terms of frameworks, like, to get that information and think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you need to know is the proper scripting, right? And this is probably not the first time anyone has heard to use scripting, but you probably think about it in terms of your phone calls or your listing presentations and things of that nature, but it translates to success in live chat as well. And
Right.
As much as I hope everyone is hearing on this, go buy Chime and their AI assistant. Like, I want you to know that most websites should have a live chat feature. So it's very likely that you have a website with live chat feature already. Go switch that on and make sure that you have a way to access that from a mobile perspective, and it will give you the access to try this out for yourself. So there's definitely alternatives. Now, when it comes to that scripting, you actually are kind of using the same scripting in many other scenarios, right? So this is not original content. This is a script that has been successful for years and years, long before me, and that's the LP Mama script, right? So use LP, and if you Google LP Mama, the script will be right there in front of you. It stands for location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment, right? So those are the 6 things you want. Now, don't just write out, where do you want? How much can you afford? When are you moving? Have you signed? That's obviously not going to work. But if you use what Zach brought up earlier about a series of micro commitments, asking these questions one at a time, conversationally, then you're earning the right to ask for contact information. You're earning the right to set an appointment together, things of that nature. So use these conversational scripts via your live chat, and you should start to see an immediate impact.
Yeah, and so what's key to this, and we'll give you guys a little bit of a like kind of that structural formula for how you can ask questions and how you could do that in a way that does feel natural and human, where you're not just berating people with questions that don't feel natural. But so we'll give you that in a second. But really the point of this part, leveraging LP Mama, is just to understand, if you know the information that you're trying to get, then you kind of know where to take the conversation. You're not just sitting there kind of like asking one thing and then having no more rounds in the chamber, right? Like you got to know, where are you going next? Where are you trying to take the conversation? Where are you looking to, what information are you looking to get from somebody in order to make that conversation successful? And literally, I mean, it might be akin to, hey, if you're at your computer, it might be that you like you're taking notes and like checking a box to say, did I get the L? Did I get the P? Did I get the M? Did I get the A? Right? Like you're literally just looking to see, did I get this information, and trying to systematically get it. And then knowing like, hey, this is the next question I need to ask, or where I need to take this if I can, right? So beginning with that end in mind is going to be really helpful in actually getting what you need to out of live chat. So the next thing that you're going to need to do, once you know what information you're looking to get, you're going to need to have your strategy for when and how to reach out to people, to message them on the site. And so, one of the things that you guys have learned, through your AI chatbot is essentially this strategy of proactively messaging people. But if you do that in the wrong way, that could come across weird, right? And so you kind of need this. You need a way in order to provide context for why you're reaching out, and then transition into the question, right? So you want to walk through a little bit about that strategy of how people can proactively message, and maybe what some of the signals are that they should look for to determine when they should message.
Yeah, so this is highlights why it's so important to have your website integrated with your CRM, because people, first of all, we know people love looking at homes. Everyone likes looking at homes. I don't know anyone who doesn't like to look at homes. Right.
HGTV wouldn't exist if people didn't like looking at homes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So, so people coming to your website to look at homes is great, but it's only the first thing that you need in order to identify who's actually interested in buying. Right. That honestly, coming to look at homes on your website isn't a buying behavior, really. So what we've seen work really well for our clients, and some of the introductory conversations that they have, or the AI assistants having for that matter, is first saying, thank you for inquiring on our website. Right. Do you need more information on a particular property? Are you interested in scheduling a tour? Things of that nature.
Right.
And the beauty is the AI assistant is going to continue following up even without a response. And that's really important. You know, for all of you who decide that you're going to man your own live chat today, that's totally fine, but make sure that you're following up more than once, more than twice. There's billions of studies out there that go to show you need between 7 to 12 meaningful contacts before you actually convert somebody. So, so the AI assistant continues to follow up, and you should too.
Right.
So should someone not respond, that's okay.
Right.
You know, some of the language that we use in our next piece of communication is, hey, sorry, we haven't been able to connect about your home search. I found a few homes that are similar to what you were looking for. Are you still interested? Right. And so that generally, that's pretty effective at getting a response, to be honest. And if there wasn't a response after that message, you know, your third message could be something as simple as "let me know." Just three words, "let me know." Really powerful. Oftentimes, that is what gets people to respond to you. And then from there, let's say someone says, "Are you still interested? I found a few homes that are similar to what you're looking for. Let me know if you're still interested." It's usually yes or no, right? Yes, I am. Okay, great. Are you still planning on moving, or what is your time frame? So on.
Essentially, yeah, you're looking at the context of what they're saying. You're kind of providing a transition into the next question of the LP Mama, right? Like that's what you're looking for. You're taking what they're saying and then transitioning. So yeah. So and one thing that you mentioned that I want to emphasize for people, you have to essentially you have to put your robot hat on, right? Like you have to decide. Shoot, I've been watching the show Ted Lasso, and one of the things that he talks about, to the players toward the beginning of the show, is he said you got to be like goldfish, right? Goldfish have a short memory, right? And that's what you need, right? You need to essentially, if they're not responding, you almost just forget that and go to the next one, right? And go to the next piece of the conversation, because if you don't keep messaging them, you're not going to get the response. But the trick is to make sure that you're doing it in the right way. There is a way to over message somebody. There is a way to do it too much. So we'll give you guys some guidelines for that. But what you want to do mentally for yourself, and this is something, this is a benefit that the AI has that humans actually need to overcome, is that the AI isn't worried about the fact that they didn't respond, right? It's just optimizing for the right rate of reaching out based on the right signals and doing it in the way that it knows it's going to get the response. But we have this thing, called like feeling and emotions and the ability to sort of predict the future and internalize things and worry. And so that could cause us trouble. And so the way that, one of the phrases that's been useful for me when it comes to whether it's, on a website, email follow-up, phone follow-up, whatever, is this phrase I heard from Tim Ferriss, actually. I forget what the original quote is, but he said, don't attribute to malice what busyness could explain just as easily. Right.
I love that.
Yeah. And so we do this sometimes where it's like we send a message and we don't get a response, or maybe we get a text message back, and the way that we interpret it is like this negative way where it's like they were short. So it's like, oh, they got to be angry. I was like, maybe they're just busy, right? Like maybe they just didn't have time to give like a detailed response and they're not mad. And we're worried about this, but it's not the case. Right. And so what we advise people, what we're recommending, we talked about this earlier, is really, unless they are exclusively and directly asking you to stop following up or to not keep reaching out, because if they do, like, stop, you have to honor those wishes, right? But yeah, exactly. But as long as they haven't said that, just assume that they're okay. And like, if you're being helpful and if you're coming to them with good, useful, helpful information, assume that they're okay with that, right? Because otherwise, otherwise you're gonna be throwing obstacles in your own path that you don't need to.
in two short stories, just to back up what you're saying, Zach, or to enforce this, if they're short in response or their text read kind of strangely, my dad used to send ... at the end of almost every text message. So I couldn't tell if he was about to send another text message, if he was sarcastic, if he was angry about, like, I didn't know what any of this meant. And I just had to ask him, like, Dad, why do you send 3 dots at the end of your message? And he goes, no reason. Like, okay, that would have been nice to point out. Like, just let me know that you're going to do that for no reason.
Right.
So don't internalize, or don't project your own feelings, because it often fails you more often than not. And then another example of this, just follow up being successful. I've mentioned before, my fiance is a real estate agent and, of course, a Chime client. Her biggest transaction of all time, that was 3x the normal price point in our market, came after the AI assistant followed up 22 times.
Jeez.
This AI, it reached out 22 times, and as it turns out, this client was a C-level executive at a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
So, yeah, that person is pretty busy. It's unpredictable when that person is going to be available. So
exactly. So yeah, so that's the key, is to be a goldfish, put your AI hat, put your robot hat on, and try and forget the negative feelings, as long as you were coming into that conversation with a strategy to be helpful, to be reaching out at the right times. Let's talk about that a little bit, right? Like, this is key for how you reach out. You should always start, again, sometimes rules are stated a little bit to the extreme.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Where it's not always the case. But anyway, so let's acknowledge that. But so let's say you should always start with something helpful, right? Like, say, hey, I noticed that you were doing this, and so I thought this might help. Or hey, you were looking for something like this, and I found a few properties that look similar. Would you like me to send them over? Right? Like, that's what we want to do. We always want to look at what's going on and send something helpful. Do you have any more examples of those kind of helpful context conversation starter bridges as people are following up?
Yeah, again, the hold on, the just checking in, the let me know messages can only take you so far.
Right.
And don't forget what the person came to your website for the first time around. They came to view properties, and sending a property that pertains to that person's search criteria is never going to get old. It just isn't, right? Like, oh, I've already sent them 7 properties and they haven't responded yet. Well, maybe they're waiting on the 8th, or maybe they just haven't been a fit yet, and they're not going to respond to you to say none of these fit. They're just only going to respond to the one that piques their interest. So that's really how we've programmed our AI assistant to follow up, and we're really satisfied with the results we're getting from that. So sending properties via website chat or text message is a great way to get engagement. And it is different than sending it in emails. They should already be going out in emails. Make no mistake. Right. Your property alert, your daily property alerts are going to be the most successful drip campaign you ever run. So, so always do that. Right. But maybe everyone here has a burner email account, right?
Right.
Like, I have 4 email accounts, and one of them.
I was going to say just one.
Yeah, one of them never gets read. It's just there. Actually, I still use my old job's email account when I really don't want to subscribe to stuff.
There you go.
So maybe that's how the person originally signed up, and they just aren't getting those property alerts, but they give you their real text message, or they give you their real phone number. And what that should say to you is, this person is ready to communicate via text or call. They do not communicate via email. So having that alternative method of delivering properties is not only effective just to deliver properties, but also a good way to get engagement. So that would be my long-term strategy. If I have to message someone 22 times, 18 or 19 of those messages are probably going to be a property that fits their search criteria.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, yeah, I mean, like that's the trick, is you remember the context of where they came in, right? They came in to look at properties. And so, what I like to call it is like dangling carrots, or it's like putting bait, a line into the water and just see what they bite on, right? And so some ideas for the types of things that could work. Obviously, properties that fit along what they're doing. That makes a ton of sense. You could also talk about, hey, maybe there's some great down payment assistance programs going on, and so you say, hey, there's a great program going on. I don't know if that's something that would interest you. If you'd want more information, feel free to let me know. Maybe you got some coming soon listings that would fit with what they're up to, right? It's not available on the market, man. I'll tell you what, especially in the kind of market that we're in right now, you got a coming soon listing. Whoo, people will be all over that, even if it's only vaguely close to what they might want, right?
I love that point, actually. I love that point. And to tout our own horn again, if you will, we do have a piece of functionality where you can plug in your coming soons and see which leads in your database match to that property, and you can send that out in a text message as well. I realize no one's having a hard time finding buyers for their properties, but are you maximizing your property exposure, or maybe using that in a demonstration with a potential seller can help you win the deal? Is just being a tech forward agent. So
and not only that, like I think people lose sight of this, right? So getting people into your sphere, into your world, into your ability to communicate and build a relationship is so important. And wherever you can do that easily is important to maximize if you can, right? And so, right now, you're right. It's really easy to get buyers. It's really easy to get a database full of people that are looking at homes. Would you rather those people be available in your database or exclusively available in somebody else's? Because they're going to end up somewhere, right? So like even if you're not really drastically looking for more buyers, it's still worthwhile to get them into your system, especially, and we'll talk about this later, but especially if you got a systematic, scalable way to stay in communication with them, right? And so what's the phrase? It's like something about like, it's like you make hay while, I don't know. There's something about like, it's like when the weather's good, it's like, like leverage it, right? Like that's if you're a farmer and the weather's good, you leverage that, you take advantage of that, you put away the supplies while the weather's good. Because here's the reality: is it always going to be the case that we're in a market that's flush with buyers, that where the seller inventory is so low? It's like, no, that's going to go away at some point. And having that war chest of a massive buyers list is going to be useful when you get to a point where you got a ton of sellers and very few buyers. Right. And being able to leverage that. So anyway, I whatever people are like, we as humans become so, we're so adaptable that whatever becomes normal, right? Like becomes the status quo. And so we lose sight of, there's a massive opportunity to put together a big buyer list right now. But anyway,
I agree. I'll bet you in 2009, 2010, people would have loved some qualified buyers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. People that all you have to do is send out a message. And then you've got people calling you instead of needing to go out and pay for more leads, right? So anyway, so definitely leverage this time right now to put together a massive buyer list. So okay, so we reach out with a helpful message, and that's going to get some sort of response, right? Positive, negative, whatever. Hopefully it gets a response. If we've done our job here, we're more likely to get a response, which is what's great about the live chat, right? And so then now that we've got a response, really the way that you get that LP Mama information is that you're going to acknowledge whatever they say, right? You're going to just give some context, say, okay, great, or that makes sense, or okay, awesome. So you're still looking for that property, cool. In order for me to help you do that, right? So in order for me to do this, or some sort of transition that then leads into the next question, and that next question is going to be whatever other piece of information you need, and you just essentially keep doing that. It's start with something helpful, start with something useful, acknowledge the response, transition, and then ask for the next piece of information, right? And that's what you're doing systematically in these live chats. That's what the AI is doing on your behalf when you're using CHIME'S bot. And so that's kind of the way that you leverage that system in order to get that information. And now, what do we look for though, in terms of making sure that we're not messaging too much, right? So we know that we want to have a short memory, and we don't want to stop after one message. But I also probably don't want to be sending them like 20 messages every day if they've never responded, right? And so what are some of the signals that we look for in order to say when is a good time to reach out, or what's a really good signal that it's time to send a message and be likely to get a response? What are some of the things that we look for?
Sure. So some of the high interest activities that we monitor really, in my opinion, are kind of obvious, right? So if someone comes back to the website with a certain amount of frequency, they view one particular listing multiple times.
Right.
They obviously fill out any type of form on the website in addition to the registration prompt. You'd be amazed. You'd be absolutely amazed how many people will not follow up with leads that have submitted several forms. And then they have the gall to say that that lead generation program sucks. It's really shocking, but true. But and maybe that's a function of their technology not making it obvious enough in terms of who is filling out these forms. So truth is usually somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so somebody fills out multiple forms on your website. It's like the equivalent of somebody like streaking through your neighborhood with a banner on their back that says, "I want to buy or sell a house." Right? It's a major signal that you should be noticing for sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So you see somebody with a really high open rate on some of your emails, things of that nature. This is all information that your system should give you insight into and make it easily accessible. So it's those behaviors beyond just the casual property browse that's going to be identified as an opportunity within our system. So definitely recommend that any existing system that you use or decide to use in the future give you that insight as well.
Yeah. So the way that I like to describe this, and this is just a good general marketing principle, but anything that you might qualify as a recent sign of life, right? Something that says that this person is recently showing some behavior that indicates, it's a good time to reach out. They're interested. They're currently interested. It's a good time to have a conversation. And what I would tell people is what qualifies for that for you is, especially if you're manning this yourself, it's really going to be based on how much activity you have. Right. So if you've got a ton of people doing stuff, your threshold for when you reach out might be a little bit higher. Right. Like you're going to be looking for that person who filled out the form. You're going to be looking for the person who's favorited 10 properties or whatever. Right. Like you're looking for a really big signal. But if you don't have much leads, somebody hits your website, period, you're probably sending them a message. Right. Like,
especially if you don't have very many leads in your system. I mean, one of the first warning signs of, hey, I need to do something differently in my business was at the very beginning of our conversation where we acknowledged and accepted as true that lead generation is getting out of hand in this industry. So if everyone else's database is growing and yours isn't, I give you permission to panic because that's kind of that's a panicking moment.
Yeah, go get some leads. Go get some leads. I mean, I do know of some people who are rocking some really good sort of natural slow growth sphere of influence strategies, and like that could be a great way to do it too. I think it's generally a mix.
It doesn't have to be online leads, right? You don't have to grow your database through buying online leads. That's fine, but there needs to be new leads coming into your world every single day.
Even if you've got an amazing sphere of influence, people move out of your area, they move to where you're not going to be able to help them anymore, that sort of thing. And so you got to constantly be creating those new relationships.
And so there's 500 million realtors to join the business not 500 million, 500,000. I'm losing my mind. There's 500,000 realtors to join the business in the last 18 months. You don't think people in your sphere of influence had a cousin, had a child, had some family member join real estate, and now they're going to start using that person? I mean, come on, I'm sure everyone listening is shaking their head and like, that has happened before. That's only going to continue to happen at a higher rate due to the growth of the industry.
Exactly. And so, I mean, people tend to work with the last real estate agent that they talk to. Like that's by default who they work with. So definitely make sure you're growing that, you're staying in communication, all of that. So that makes a ton of sense. Okay, cool. So what we have so far just to sort of put a bow on the system that we've described for people. So use live chat. Live chat is going to make sure that you're generating more leads, that you're converting more of those leads into conversations, right? In order to do that, we got to know what information to get. So we're going to use scripts the same way that we might use them on the phone, or that we might use them in any sort of follow-up that we do. LP Mama is a great one that works well for buyers, especially. If you're working with sellers, or if you've got seller indicated interest, you'd use a different script. But the whole point is know what information you need to get from someone in order to qualify them, in order to make sure that they're a good solid lead that you can actively do business with, right? You're looking to hear, is this person likely to do a real estate transaction anytime soon, and how can I help them? What do I need to do to help them, right? That's the information that you're looking to get. In order to get that information, you're going to be proactively messaging people, right? So when they come to your site, when they show signs of life, when they're they're opening your emails, they're clicking through that, they're doing that kind of stuff, you're going to reach out to them. You're going to message them. You're going to say something helpful, something that is relevant to the context of what they're doing, right? If they're a buyer, you sending them properties. You might be offering them coming soons. You might be talking to them about down payment assistance, whatever it is, right? Just something. If I'm a buyer, what's something I might be interested in? I'm gonna propose that to them. Like Randy mentioned, 9 times out of 10, property is going to be enough. So you don't have to necessarily overthink that, right? As long as you're able to keep that relevant, they're going to respond to your helpful message. You're going to acknowledge that. You're going to transition to ask the next question that gets you the information that you're looking to get. And then in terms of, how often you should message, base that largely on their activity. If they're not showing active signs of life, then you can lessen the pace of your follow-up. You will still have automated things going out, like your property drips and stuff like that. That should be enough that if they're active, if they're engaged, they're going to start getting to your website, start showing those signs of life when they're ready. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's when you're going to be reaching out. Now, here's a big problem with all of this, right? Ready? So that, here lies the rub. How do people actually do this consistently? Right? Because I'm a real estate agent. I can't just sit in front of my computer or on my phone and just have conversations with people all day and still actually do the business of real estate, right? I've got to actually maybe go out and show properties. I got to submit offers. I got to negotiate. I got to help my clients. I got to do more than just sit here and talk to people, right? But the reality is that something like live chat, it's really it's got a short life on the vine, right? It's like you got to be ready to jump on it right away, to be there, to be present in that conversation in order for it to really have the effective result that we're looking at. So it's really hard to do this as a human, especially a lone human, and do this cost effectively and have this work out. And so, that's the problem that we run into, right? And that's essentially why you guys have looked at creating this AI chatbot, right? So talk to me a little bit about that and some of the problems that people run into, and maybe how having an AI assistant to do this really can help them get all the benefits of live chat without running into the problems of not actually being able to implement it.
Yeah. So like you just said, it would be impossible and also ill-advised for you to sit in front of your computer all day, right? Because that's not where you make your money.
Right.
You've got other things to do. But we acknowledge that live chat, in the name, it's got to be live, and it usually requires a human to be there. So
right.
The second piece, or I guess a lot of people in the past have thought to turn to hiring an ISA for that.
Right.
And hiring an ISA can certainly be a solution, and I appreciate the human piece of that and the ability to make phone calls. But ISAs require training, management. They've got sick days. They take PTO. They quit. You
have to train them to actually get them to be good at what they do. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There's
every new person too. Every new person you have to train again, because even if they have experience, they don't know your systems. They don't know your process, right? You have to. Everybody has some level of a onboarding process, right?
Absolutely. So the ISA model comes with a whole brand new series of obstacles, right? So what we're really confident in is our AI assistant offers just that perfect medium of, one, it's way more affordable than a human. Let's make no mistake about that.
Right.
There's a certain income level a human needs to take a job, and luckily the bots do not. It scales to an unlimited number of conversations. I know within my fiance's platform, it's having 191 conversations currently,
Right.
which is phenomenal.
Even if they're all essentially happening at the same time, right? Like that's the other thing that's nice, because just like anything, you probably don't need a human to be on call at 3 a.m. in the morning. There's not a ton of people that are looking to chat then. There might occasionally be somebody you want to capture it. It's more likely that like all the conversations happen like in the evening when people are watching TV and browsing your site for properties while they're sort of on the couch and doing something else, right? Like that's when those conversations are going to come in. You're going to get 100 conversations within the span of like an hour or two, right? So yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So that scalability, regardless of time of day, no sick days, no PTO. So
and further, that scalability, can be applied. We talked about, Chime isn't exclusively focused on running those ads and generating leads that way. But hey, I'll tell you what, as somebody who's, ran an ad agency in the past and helped real estate agents generate leads, 9 times out of 10, it wasn't my ability to turn up the dial on getting them more leads that was the issue. It was, I generate enough leads that they get overwhelmed and they can't handle it. Right? Like that's where you run into problems. And so being able to say, hey, I want to grow my business. I want to grow my team. I want to grow the number of people that I could help. But like, if I turn up the leads too much, I actually run into more problems than I run into benefit, right? Because they can't process all of this. Now, when you look at something that it essentially you don't need to train, because everybody's training it, right? Like that's what machine learning is right. Every conversation it has is training, and it could just be applied to everybody, right? You don't need to onboard it, right? You give it 1,000 new conversations, you give it 10 new conversations, it doesn't care. It's the same regardless, right? And so being able to dial up or dial down your leads depending on the needs of what you're seeing in the industry and what you're seeing, and not having to factor for that conversation, that follow-up part, to be a major hindrance in it. That's massive.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And let's throw some real life numbers into this as well to help make this more relatable. And I can do the math backwards if you prefer, but to get straight to the point, client-wide, we've found that our AI assistant identifies 22 out of 100 leads that they deem worth your attention, right? And that's a really important point, worth your attention. So here's 2 options you have. You can follow up with 100 leads yourself, which, as we've previously discussed, means you need to make anywhere between 700 to 1,200 contacts,
right?
Attempts, right? 700 to 1,200 attempts, or you can follow up with 22 contacts where your number of attempts are probably limited to they're either expecting your call, or you call them, let's call it 3 times. So now we're looking at 22 attempts.
Right.
Like, I mean, I just can't fathom the time savings that gives you, 63 attempts or 66 attempts versus 1,200 attempts.
Right.
It's a 200x difference if I'm doing the math right, which I'm probably not, but
math live on video is just, it's always rough.
It is rough.
Anyway.
I was off by a little bit. That's it's slightly under 200x increase in effort, right? So one way or another, that scalability you just can't put a dollar value on it. It's so priceless. And that's in every aspect of your business.
And it's the kind of, how to describe it. I mean, it's something that you could put a dollar value on, but the dollar value is so extreme that it starts to become one of these things that, like, for instance, it'd be like trying to put a dollar value on the savings of driving a car versus walking, right? It's like technically you could, but we exist in a world where, like, the baseline understanding is that you're going to drive to get somewhere, right? Like that's just kind of a given in the world we live in at this point, right? And that's what this is quickly starting to become, is that if you want to be able to compete with with some of these massive companies that are flooding the market with money into the real estate space and be able to process these leads effectively as a real estate agent, like you have to have these tools that come alongside you. And essentially, like the way that I'm describing the future, it's like we're talking about this AI chatbot. Really, the real estate agent of the future is a cyborg. Right, like we are, right? Like it's the RoboCop of a real estate agent, right? Where there's like this human component in there that does what's best for a human, but is amplified and leveraged to the max by this technology that makes them a million times more effective. And it's like you can't, we're moving into a realm where you can't exist effectively without having that help, without having that leverage, because everyone else is going to be having it. And if you don't, you're just not going to be able to keep up profitably, and the business is going to shift quick, right? We're not looking at a 20, 30 year process in the change here. We're looking at the real estate industry as we know it is probably completely different within 5 years, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's definitely a massive part of this. So yeah, to put a bow on that part of it. So there's lots of great ways that you can leverage live chat. I highly encourage you, even if right now for whatever reason, and I don't know what the reasons would be, but if for whatever reason Chime doesn't seem like a good fit for you at the moment, definitely take these tools, get them put in, because done is better than perfect. Getting something up and running, starting to do live chat, taking the conversations that you can do effectively, and just starting to do that, you will get more results doing that than if you do nothing. Right?
Yes,
So definitely,
yes, you're absolutely right.
Take them and use them. But man, if you're at a point in your business where you see the power of having this backend help, and we just covered one feature here, guys. We just talked about AI live chat. Chime offers drastically more than that. It's as Randy mentioned, it's a all-in-one that offers drastically more. I'd highly encourage people. There is absolutely no cost in order to see if Chime might be a good fit for you. Right? There's no cost for you to check it out, see what the bot can do, see how the chat experience is. Actually, get your eyes on it and see how surprisingly human this thing is, even though it's run by a machine learning Google algorithm Skynet. But you'll see that it's super powerful. So if you guys want to check that out, I highly encourage you do. You could let Chime know that we sent you from Real Estate Growth Hackers by going to realestategrowthhackers.com/Chime, CHIME. So go there, check them out. If you guys want to check them out directly, one thing I would encourage you to do, if you're gonna go direct to the website, I'll let Randy give that to you in a second. But the other thing is, if you happen to be like me and you Google it, there is another Chime that isn't this CRM. So if you Google Chime CRM, that's going to get you to the right place. So,
yes, beware of Chime Bank. If Chime's ever asking you for your social security number and your bank account information, then you're in the wrong Chime.
Exactly. So if you're like me and you're Googling to try and find the right web address, CRM, add CRM to the end of your search, and you will find in the right place. But Randy, go ahead. What is the direct website for anybody that wants to check it out directly?
Direct website's chime.me, chime.me. Chime.com is going to be the bank. Don't do that. I should not have even said that. Chime.me. Mention this podcast. We're really grateful to be here and to be able to hopefully spread some helpful knowledge. So mention this podcast. You'll get a special discount just as a thank you. And I really enjoyed it. Absolutely. I really hope the first thing you do after listening to this is log into the settings of your website and see if there's a live chat function. Right? Try it for yourself. See what results you get. See how much of a headache it is to do it yourself. Because then you'll appreciate it more when you call us.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, honestly, take this information, go out, implement it, see the kind of results that you could get literally just by manning live chat on your own site. And then you'll see exactly the power that could be had if you don't have to do that anymore, right? Where you could see, oh yeah, there's definitely a lead opportunity that I would have missed had I not been here to have this conversation, right? I see that. I could see that for myself. And get that lead for yourself, right? Get yourself some business. And then use that as fuel to say, okay, cool. Now I need to move my business into the modern age. I need to become the cyborg real estate agent. become robo agent and and start leveraging this out. So definitely, again, if you guys want to check that out, you can check them out directly, chime.me, or you can let them know that we sent you by using realestategrowthhackers.com/chime in order to go and check them out. Otherwise, Randy, it was great having you on. Great conversation. We'll probably like I mentioned, we only covered one feature here today, so we'll probably have you back on in the future. I know, like you mentioned, you guys are updating every month. So next time we talk, probably going to be talking about brand new things that you guys are up to, right? So
yeah. We've got some things coming down the pipe. Nothing that I want to tease too much here, but we definitely have plenty to talk about in the future. We're really excited.
Perfect. So stay tuned, guys, for the Real Estate Growth Hackers show. I'm sure we'll have Randy and Chime back on, but in the meantime, I hope you guys got a lot of great value out of this. Go out, take action. This information does nothing for you if you just listen to it. It only does anything for you if you actually go out and do something. So take some time, put something into action here. Check out Chime, put live chat on your site, whatever you're going to do, just do something and improve your business, get better results, and grow into the future. So there you go. Again, Zach Hammer with Real Estate Growth Hackers, Randy with Chime, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Growth Hackers show. Remember, done is better than perfect. To turn the marketing ideas and tactics you just learned into real growth for your real estate business, visit us at realestategrowthhackers.com. If you like this episode, consider sharing it with another real estate professional who could benefit from the information, or maybe you'd like to subscribe to the show to never miss an episode. You can leave a rating or review on iTunes with your biggest takeaway, helping this show to reach and help more people just like you. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.